After the massive success of both PlayStation 1 and 2, Sony Computer Entertainment officially announced the groundbreaking PlayStation 3 at the Electronic Entertainment Expo of 2005. PlayStation 3 featured a state-of-the-art Blu-ray player, the all-new cell processor, an ultra-powerful graphics chip, a larger hard drive, and HDMI capabilities. The new technology in PlayStation 3 helped developers usher in a new era of deep, immersive, high-definition gaming.
Hello and welcome to Retroarch. This is the first video in a 6-part series on the PS3 in 2022. Why the PS3, you ask? Well, the price of a second-hand PS3 is generally half the price of Android retro TV boxes, and the cost of upgrading the internal storage and adding an external drive is much cheaper than that of an equivalent SD card. While we go through setting up the PS3, PS2, PSX and PSP for Cobra mode, the main focus will be retro gaming using webMAN-MOD as the user interface. I spent a month or two working with Aldo, who took over from the scene legend DK a few years ago, as the developer of webMAN-MOD, testing and verifying Retroarch support. Aldo was an excellent developer to work with, so if you use this guide, please take the time to show your support by donating to him. Let's take a quick look at the webMAN UI when it's been configured for PS3, PS2, PSX, PSP and Retroarch. While Retroarch CE lacks a number of dynamic recompiler based cores you would find on other platforms, Crystal CT, the maintainer of Retroarch CE, has continued to provide a solid solution for retro gaming on the PS3. I've rebuilt the PS Covers utility to support the creation of PS2, PSX, PSP and supported Retroarch system covers and screenshots, so you can include them in your build. Let's take a quick look at Sonic CD before we get started. As you can see, once set up and working, the end user experience using webMAN-MOD as the user interface is not too shabby. Without further ado, let's get started. My goals for the build were: use webMAN-MOD as the user interface for all systems, use an NTFS hard drive greater than 2 TB as the external drive to eliminate the need to split files in support of PS3, PSX and PSP image files, upgrade the internal hard drive to 1 TB to support the PS3 updates, game data and saves, PS2 images, PS2 and PSX virtual memory cards, the Retroarch ROMs, images and PS3 applications. Get the most out of Retroarch for retro gaming support. Support covers for all systems. So what do I need to do this build? First, there's the hardware components. Obviously the PS3 console, PlayStation controllers, cables including HDMI, mini USB and power, a Western Digital external USB hard drive and a 2.5 inch internal hard drive that's 1 TB. On the software side, you'll need the official Sony firmware 4.88, custom firmware Ethernet 4.88.2, Cobra 8.3, webMAN-MOD at the time of release 1.47.37, the PSP launcher package for launching PSP games, the PS2 config package to increase the compatibility of PS2 with the internal PS2 emulator, Prep ISO for creating the PSP NTFS files, RSMan 4.88 as the only file manager that actually supported the NTFS drive, and Retroarch CE Beta 4. The first thing you need is a PS3 console. The consoles that can be exploited for custom firmware are the PS3 Fat models and a majority of the PS3 Slims. PS3 Fat launch models used a 90nm cell and RSX chip that were power hungry and generated a lot of heat. As with my PS3 launch model, most are problematic and suffer the yellow light of death. They were supplied with a 6-axis controller that are also susceptible to going open circuit between the PCB and the ribbon cable. One benefit of the early models in the US and Japan was the inclusion of the PS2 Emotion Engine chip for hardware-based PS2 support. The last of the Fat models moved to a 60nm process and were shipped with DualShock controllers. They are more reliable, however they still can be susceptible to the yellow light of death. The first of the PS3 Slim models moved to a 45nm cell and 65nm RSX chip, and while they were up to the task, they will use more power and generate more heat. Typically the PS3 fan needs to work harder and they will generate more noise as a result. Additionally, these models will make a cracking sound as the plastic expands during use and shrinks when turned off. The 2100 and 2500 series are the best models for the build. They have a 45nm cell and 40nm RSX chip and use the least power of the exploitable devices. The 2500B devices with the 320GB drive are the sweet spot, but you need to be careful of the build date as the later models with a date code of 1B may not be exploitable. There are plenty of places you can pick up a PS3, for example Facebook Marketplace. Be sure when you're shopping around to confirm the model number and date code before committing to buy. I got the one for this build off Facebook Marketplace for 60 Australian dollars, or around 45 US dollars. It came with a bonus copy of Crash Insane Trilogy for the PS4 and all the SingStar you could ever need. However, it was missing the HDMI and mini USB cables, which you can see are not in the picture. The sale was marked as used fair, and the condition of the console was excellent. It was an EB refurbished unit that had been cleaned internally and had new heatsink compound applied in 2019. I followed the mantra, if it isn't broke, don't try and fix it. So here's a link to a video to show you how to disassemble and reapply heatsink compound. The condition of the controls is another story. Both had open circuit issues, and one looked like the owner's dog had spent a fair bit of time chewing on it. I bought a bag of spare thumbsticks off eBay for $10 and put double-sided tape between the black pad and the plastic to push the ribbon cable close to the motherboard to fix the open circuit issues. Jeff helped out with a few of the items, including the internal hard drive and cables. An internal 1TB 2.5-inch hard drive was around $52. Here's a quick unboxing. The drive was relatively well packed, and you can see it's a Seagate Barracuda model ST1000LM048. While some have managed to get a 1.5TB drive working with the PS3, a 1TB is going to be the most compatible and trouble-free. I tried a 2TB drive about a year ago with no luck, so I donated it to the Wii U for Wii and GameCube games. A 2-meter HDMI cable was $10. A 2-meter mini USB to USB-A was $3. Officeworks had a 4TB Western Digital Elements SE on special for $89. However, they're back to $119. Keep an eye out on Amazon or other bulk sellers, you'll be able to pick one up around the same price. Those in the know are saying, how are you going to get the PS3 to see a 4TB drive with an MBR partition table? And later on I'll show you. You have to change the sector size from 512 bytes to 4 kilobytes. As we are storing image files, there's little impact with changing the sector size to file storage, but it did present a few challenges. So the total cost of the build with a 5TB storage across the internal and external hard drives was $219 Australian dollars, or around 160 US. Obviously that amount of storage is suited to a large library of PlayStation 3, 2 and PSX games. If you can get a 2500 series PS3 with 320 gig, or use a hard drive they have lying around and go with a 1 or 2 terabyte hard drive, the cost will be around about 100 Australian dollars, or around 75 US. Next is the software. First thing we're going to need is the official PS3 firmware version 4.88. We're going to use this firmware to update the device to the latest version for the exploit. Be aware the link on the official Sony web page doesn't work, so you need to actually copy the link into the browser and paste it into a new window, and then the file will download. Next is EvilNats 4.88.2 custom firmware. This is the firmware we'll be installing after the device has been exploited. It can be found over on Breweology, and you want the CEX version. Next is webMAN-MOD. The best place to get this is over on GitHub. You can get it from Breweology. There's a few other files we can get at the same time. So head over to GitHub and grab it from there. You'll find it packaged on the releases page. Scroll down and you can see it at the bottom there, just above the source code. While we're here, grab the PSP launcher. Also grab the PS2 config file with all the configs for the PS2 games. Also grab Prep ISO for the PSP running off the NTFS drive. Head back, scroll down again, and next we'll get the PS3 covers file. You can always use the self-generated ones, but I think it's a good idea to use these. It looks rather nice. And scroll down again and get RSMan. I'll take you to the Breweology page. Grab it from here. Next it will be Retroarch. Okay. Easiest way to find it is just go to the What's New page. Aldo has packaged up the current version with all the cores and posted it, so scroll down and you'll be able to find it here, just below the official release. See the repack? Click on that link there. And the next thing we need will be the Western Digital Quick Formatter that will allow us to modify the sector size from 512 bytes out to 4K so that we can support a 4TB drive with MBR partitions. Best place to find it is over on the diskpark.com website. All the links will be in the description below, so you can go get the files directly from there if you need to. And we should have all the files we need. As always, there's problems. First problem we came across was with the 4K sector side on the NTFS partition. The only file manager that would work was Irisman, and the PlayStation images, no matter what I did, would not boot. I tried it with a normal MBR partition, not a problem. I think it may have something to do with the multi-disc code for PSX. And as you can see from the demonstration, it just fails to mount the ISO image in Cobra mode. Looking at the NTFS files that's created, you can see that it exists and everything looks correct, just fails. The next problem was PSP memory. When attempting to create the NTFS files for PSP games, I found I could only do it in batches of 40 at a time because it wouldn't read the full 200 I had on the drive. The other issue is once I'd done those batches and put all 200 NTFS files into the temporary folder, the maximum number of files that would be read would be around about 56. The next issues would be random crashes that would occur, including Irisman and webMAN-MOD. Irisman would sometimes stop copying and then freeze the PS3. Once or twice it would black screen and then I'd have to reinstall it. webMAN-MOD would occasionally freeze, and then also webMAN-MOD would also corrupt, requiring a full reinstall with a weird message that used to pop up. Here's an example when Irisman was freezing. Just sat there, did nothing, had to be rebooted. Next is when Irisman did a black screen. Start Irisman, normally goes in there and starts looking at the media depending on what media got selected. All I got was a black screen. Pulled the power out, put the power in, had to reinstall Irisman to get it working again. Next was a crash of webMAN-MOD. Just when using the normal interface, going in there, it would lock up. This did stop happening towards the end as I updated the version of webMAN-MOD, so obviously Aldo has fixed this issue. All the issues though, when you do a forced reboot, went into the disk check. The disk check can probably take about 15 minutes depending upon how much data is on the hard drive. Obviously towards the end, when I had close to 600 gig worth of image files on the hard drive, it took quite a while to do the disk check. I won't make you suffer through the entire lot. Once the disk check is finished, it just boots normally and away you go again. So let's get started. The first thing we want to do is factory default to PS3, primarily for the reason if you're going to do the exploit, it's best practice to make sure that there's no data on the hard drive that could cause problems with the exploit itself. It's a relatively simple procedure. Once the PlayStation is booted, you move across to the system menu, head down, go to system settings, scroll down to restore default settings, hit enter, select yes, and it will reset the factory back to factory default. Once the PlayStation is rebooted, go through the initial setup procedure. From here we'll be ready to upgrade to the official firmware version 4.88 and go through the exploit, then install a custom firmware EvilNat version 4.88 release 2. Ready for all the fun and games. Well, that's the end of the first video. Got a fair bit done and ready to go for the next few. See you next time.